The rain battered against the window pane like a relentless barrage, each droplet a tiny hammer pounding away at the fragile silence that enveloped the old Victorian house. Amelia stood at the foot of the winding staircase, her fingers tracing the worn wooden banister that had guided generations before her. With a father absorbed in his work overseas and a mother lost to her own pursuits, her grandmother had been the only constant, a beacon of warmth and understanding in a life otherwise marked by solitude. Amelia had always felt like an outsider, a shadow slipping through the periphery of others' bustling worlds. The funeral had been a blur of black umbrellas and whispered condolences. But now, alone in the sepulchral gloom of the house, the reality of her loss pressed in on her like a tangible weight. It was then that she noticed a faint glimmer at the end of the hallway, a door slightly ajar that she had never seen open before. Curiosity pulled her forward, each step echoing as if the house itself was holding its breath. Dust motes danced in the sliver of light that pierced the attic's gloom, illuminating a space frozen in time. Antique trunks stacked haphazardly, cobweb-draped portraits of stern-faced ancestors, and shelves lined with books whose spines were cracked and faded. It was among these relics that Amelia's gaze settled upon a small wooden chest, its surface intricately carved with symbols that seemed to shift when not directly observed. Intrigued, she lifted the lid to reveal a single item, a leather-bound book, its cover embossed with the title, "Whispers Beyond the Veil," in tarnished gold lettering. The pages were yellowed, the script ornate and foreign. Yet, as she leafed through, certain passages seemed to unfurl in her mind, the meanings clear despite the arcane language. As twilight swallowed the attic, an entry caught her eye, an invocation to communicate with departed souls. The ache of loss surged anew, and before doubt could take root, she resolved to attempt the ritual. After all, what harm could there be in seeking a final goodbye? The parlor was transformed into a tableau of ritualistic intent. Amelia arranged the items as specified, a circle of salt upon the worn Persian rug, a single white candle flickering at its center, a silver chalice filled with water from the old well, and most importantly, a locket containing a strand of her grandmother's silvery hair. The air was thick with anticipation, shadows thrown wildly by the candle's dance. As she stood at the circle's edge, the book cradled in her hands, a tremor passed through her, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. She began to recite the incantation, the syllables foreign yet rolling off her tongue with uncanny ease. Each word seemed to resonate beyond the confines of the room, echoing into the depths of the house. The flame steadied, burning unnaturally bright, and a chill crept into the air. Suddenly, the surface of the chalice rippled, and from its depths a visage began to emerge, the gentle, familiar features of her grandmother materializing like a specter from a dream. "Grandmother?" Amelia's voice quavered, tears welling in her eyes as relief and longing surged within her. The apparition smiled softly, eyes shimmering with the same kindness she remembered. For a moment, the veil between worlds seemed thin, and Amelia poured out her heart. The loneliness, the despair, the feeling of being adrift without her anchor. The spirit listened, her expression serene. But as the candle flickered, a shadow crossed her grandmother's face. The eyes that once held warmth now reflected something cold and inscrutable. "There are things you do not understand," the voice changed, layered with an undercurrent of urgency. Secrets buried in blood and shadow. The room grew colder, and the shadows lengthened, creeping along the walls like grasping fingers. Amelia's breath hitched as an overwhelming sense of dread settled upon her. "What do you mean?" she whispered, but the visage distorted, her grandmother's features twisting into a grimace of warning, or was it menace? The chamber pulsed with a malevolent energy. Visions assaulted Amelia's mind, fragmented images of rituals held under moonless skies, her grandmother clad in robes of midnight, surrounded by others whose faces were obscured, but whose intentions felt unmistakably dark. Chants in unknowable tongues, symbols drawn in blood, and eyes, so many eyes reflecting flames that burned without light. "You have opened the gate," the voice that was not quite her grandmother's intoned. "They have waited, and now they are free." Amelia staggered back as the circle of salt ignited with an ethereal fire, trapping her within. The shadows coalesced into forms, wraiths with elongated limbs and hollow eyes, their whispers a susurration of despair and malice. They reached for her, their touch like ice searing her skin. Panic surged, and she tried to recall the banishment spell, flipping frantically through the book, the pages now filled with indecipherable script that writhed and shifted. Her heart pounded in her chest. Each beat a thunderclap in the suffocating silence, summoning every ounce of will. Amelia closed her eyes, focusing inward amidst the chaos. Fragments of her grandmother's teaching surfaced, lessons about inner strength and the power of intent. She began to speak, not words from the book, but from her own heart, a plea and a command intertwined. The shadows recoiled, their forms wavering. The flame of the candle flared brilliantly before extinguishing, plunging the room into darkness. When she opened her eyes, the apparitions were gone. The oppressive weight lifted slightly, but an uneasy stillness remained. She gathered the items intent on destroying the book and any remnants of the ritual. As she made her way to the fireplace, a final whisper echoed in her mind. "This is not the end." The book resisted the flames, the pages smoldering but refusing to burn until, with a final surge of determination, she cast it into the heart of the fire, watching as it twisted and blackened. The dawn broke, pale light filtering through the curtains. Exhausted, Amelia slumped into an armchair, the events of the night a harrowing blur. Relief mingled with lingering fear, but she reassured herself that it was over, that she had faced the darkness and prevailed. Days passed, the normal rhythms of life slowly resuming. Yet subtle changes unsettled her. A fleeting reflection in the mirror that wasn't her own. Whispers just beyond hearing. The scent of lavender where none should be. One evening, as she prepared for bed, she noticed something on her nightstand, a small, leather-bound book. Her heart stopped as she recognized Whispers Beyond the Veil. Pristine, as if untouched by fire. Hands trembling, she opened it to find a single line written in familiar handwriting. "Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed." A cold breath brushed against her ear, and a voice that was and wasn't her grandmother's whispered, "We're just beginning, my dear." The shadows in the room deepened as the light extinguished itself, leaving Amelia enveloped in darkness that felt all too alive.